Hey guys. Oh, a little early. All right. Hey guys, Robert the Realist back with another podcast. I remembered this time to tell you to like or subscribe. I'm telling you that now. I know one of our last podcasts, we had a lot of subscribers sign up. So the word is getting out there, literally the word. But we're back today. We do have a special guest today. And per usual, Gia is here.
Hey.
She is editor-in-chief, I guess co-host too, since Madison doesn't want to come on here anymore.
She'll be back.
You don't have to edit that out either if you don't want to. But we have a special guest today, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know him. So,
scary, huh?
Yeah. Well, this was maybe good. Maybe no, it's going to be good. I met him at a small group, at Pat's small group. You and your wife. You guys are also going on the cruise.
Right.
The Love Like You Mean It cruise in
Super
February.
fun.
So we'll definitely get to know each other there, or we'll at least get to eat a lot together there.
Love
And
it.
Cruises are.
and then Caleb said something during his sermon about my podcast, and I had a couple people say, "You have a podcast?" And I said, "Yeah," and Keith was one of them. And I said, "It's funny, Keith, because being brutally honest, the first time I met you at Pat's small group, I thought you were definitely somebody I'd want to have on my podcast. So when you came up to me, I was like, in church, I'm like, of course, God."
Well, it was weird because I was sitting there in church and you know how the Holy Spirit was like nudge you with something. It was like, you need to talk to me about the podcast. I'm like, all right. And I went over there and you said, we prayed about getting some new people on here. I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I had somebody waiting after you.
There was another
Art.
person. Who was that?
Art. Yeah, Art Latson said, I need to get on there. What I call the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, our roster's filling up.
Yeah.
It really is. We got some really awesome people coming on here.
And I had
to wait like a whole week and a half.
I know. You ought to be one of the guy that just got off last Sunday. He has to wait almost 2 months. So he wanted to come back for part 2, and that's fine. That's what we want. But it's I just listening to you speak and kind of getting a little bit of your story. And I'm not going to steal any thunder from you. I thought definitely be worth having you on here and talk. So welcome, Keith.
Well, glad to be here.
Yeah. And so Keith said, "What do we talk about?" I said, "I don't know. We'll just start talking about you and your word and about you, where you came from, maybe your how you grew up. But you may have had or something in your head already rehearsed. So even if you don't, even better. So let's learn about Keith."
So my dad grew up. We're on the farm that we live on now. We have a farm that's I guess it came to be in like the 1830s. And there's always been a family on that farm at one time or another. We might have been off of it for a few years, but my great-great-great-grandfather lived there. So it's been kind of passed down. And my dad graduated from Macon High School, I think in 1958. And then he met my mother in Jeff City. I was born in Jeff City. But shortly after that, we moved to Kansas City. So I was kind of a redneck, I lived in the city, but I always loved it up here because my dad's idea of vacation was to come up and work on the farm.
I can get behind that.
Cut fence posts and put fences in.
Yeah.
Then he'd give us like one day at Six Flags or something like that,
Yeah.
And then we go back and work and cut brush. But I always loved that kind of work. I mean, I can't say I always liked cutting brush, but I like to hunt and that kind of stuff. So that farm was always a place that I was kind of near and dear to. Yeah, I grew up in Kansas City. My dad worked for basically AT&T. It was Western Electric back then.
Yeah.
And I grew up we lived in Grandview for a while. That's kind of South Kansas City. And then we moved to a little tiny suburb that had like 300 people in it, like Greenwood. But it was just kind of attached to Lee Summit. And I ended up going to school there. And I graduated from Lee Summit High School in 1977.
So I know this probably that wasn't like, the nuts and bolts of your story, but when people know all this stuff about their past, is this something that you asked somebody about, or did you just know? It's just curiosity, because I'm always like what you just told me, like your story from mom and dad, and moved here and we did this and we did that.
Yeah, I think the legacy of just knowing where you came from and how that all happened. I mean, I just think about things, maybe other people don't do this, but I cut wood and burn firewood at my house. And I don't have to do that, but I'm kind of a tightwad, and I need the exercise, so I do that. Yeah. But I started thinking, at my house I have a wood burning stove that's in the basement that my ductwork's up to, but I also have a propane furnace that if I leave, I don't have to have somebody stoke it with wood or anything, and air conditioning. But I was cutting wood one day, and it almost overwhelmed me. I thought, everybody from the 1830s has been cutting wood off this place to heat their houses. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm still I'm still doing that. And here we are in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
It is.
I mean, I enjoy it.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's a sport.
And we actually have a book. I think that's one reason I've kind of followed the legacy of my family. It was an old Sears and Roebuck catalog. In those days, it was a thick cardboard pages. It looks like a photo album, but people took...
You know what Sears and Roebuck is? Do you? No. Okay.
No, sir.
Yeah, that's...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, old, aren't we?
Yeah.
I am.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But these were in the old days. They didn't have the... when I was a kid, you get a Sears and Roebuck, and you look through there and see what toys you wanted for Christmas. And I found out at my grandparents' house, the ones that lived in Jeff City, they had an outhouse, and you put the Sears and Roebuck catalog out there. And I always asked my mom, like, why do the color pages never get used? I'm like, yeah, the soft ones are the black and white ones.
I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah, that's a different time and different.
Yeah. Do you know what an outhouse is?
I do know what that is because I watched Shrek as a kid.
Whatever works.
Yeah, my mom's mom and dad lived in Jeff City, and they didn't. I remember going there, and my mom would heat up a thing of water and pour it in a tub, and that's how I took a bath outside.
I don't go back that far, but it's
right.
Yeah. Hot water is a
they had
commodity.
a pump. They had a pump on their sink.
Yeah.
They pump up water and heat it on the stove. I mean,
That's
just the way it
insane.
was. I mean, we didn't. I never lived that way. I mean, but it was kind of cool to go to their house because it was all different like that.
Yeah, that's why my great grandmother's house was. She had a well. And she also had it inside that you could pump water. And she would use that well water all the time.
Yeah, there was a pump right in the sink. Like he pumped it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, my dad says that his mom cooked off a cook stove. Like, he can remember when they brought electricity to the house. Well, the house we live in now was built like in the late 70s. I mean, it's still old, but the house that was there originally was built in the 1800s. And that's the one he grew up in. Wow. They had a wood stove, and that's how they could keep the house warm.
I need to come out there and metal detect that place. Off subject.
That would be so fun.
I got a couple metal detectors. I went through that phase for a little bit, metal detecting. I went to some old places and found.
I've always wanted to do it on a beach because you know how much stuff people lose.
They make
on
it
the
look
beach?
easy though. It's
yes,
work.
they do make it look easy.
It's a sport as well. Just listening to you say that the house used to be out there in the 1800s.
That's crazy.
I'm like, my nerd metal detecting self was going off. So
okay, I'm kind of a nerd about history, but like. When my great-great-great-grandfather moved here, he was like 16. His name was Sterling. He stayed here. Him and his dad cleared the land. He stayed there. Got along with the Indians were in this area. They were up there then. And, that's like 30 years before the Civil War. But there still were Indians and things like that.
Yeah.
And they cleared land and planted crops. And he was 16. He stayed here while his parents went back and got everybody else. And I know there's one story that's in this book I was telling you about where they pasted all the newspaper articles. And it talks about how they had so many geese. I don't know, a couple hundred geese they drove from wherever they lived. They drove down there and didn't lose a one. They were really proud of it.
Oh, wow.
But it's crazy. And we found a lot of art just effects there, even on our land. We found, I don't have it anymore. My uncle had it, but it was a tomahawk head. It was granite. It was round on one end, so you could pound with it, like beat grain with it. And then the other end was sharp as could be. And it had the cutouts for the wooden stake that went around it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Kind of arrowheads and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you can find arrowheads, but that sounds like the ultimate arrowhead.
Well, and I live north of here, just north of Jacksonville, right where the county line is. There's Randolph County and would be Macon County. And I live like right on the line. I can go out the back door and 20 feet I'm into Macon County.
Oh, really?
The other way.
That's literally, on the line. Well, the history is cool about Keith, and we can dig into that more, but I want to know a little bit about Keith and God and where he plays a factor at.
I'm going to go back a little bit. My parents, I think my mom went to church, but she had like 8 brothers and sisters. They were pretty poor. And here's an interesting fact. My mom was a Coulter, Colter, before she married my dad, Coulter.
Wow.
So I've got a lot of Coulter relatives. And no, my family tree does not look like a telephone pole.
No,
it's like,
no,
it's like 2 different families.
Right.
But like, when we go to Grandpa Coulter's, I wasn't sure where we were going, but I had different names for him.
Well, see, I speaking of last names, I've heard in history that a lot of times last names can get changed throughout, time. So that's what I thought you were going to say, but you're just saying literally they just was a COL.
Yeah, they grew up in
COULTR.
Jeff City in that area. Okay. My dad grew up here.
Yeah.
My My grandfather had quit farming, moved down, lived in Holt Summit, which is just outside Jeff City there, and he started working for the prison system, became a guard there, and went down there and worked because he knew they were building Moberly back then, and he was going to move back up here so he could be up close to his farm. So
Build Moberly.
Or, well, the prison, I should say.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, wow. I'm going back. I don't even know when Moberly was here. But so, big family, poor.
So
kind of went to church.
My mom did. My dad, they never went to church, never did anything.
Good try, Devil. Part 2, take 2 here of us talking to Keith. He was getting ready to start talking about mom and dad and how mom went and dad didn't.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was it's funny when you look back. It's so easy when you look back on things sometimes, how things are a little more 20/20, you know, after you've been through it. And I think about in the neighborhood that my dad grew up in, there was I think I might have told you the story or not, but there was a mentally handicapped boy that was born to some parents. His parents died, and my grandfather took him in, so put him in a state hospital. And he never really developed over, his name was Charles, he never really developed over a 10 or 12-year-old mind, but he could work around the farm and do some things. And my grandfather, instead of putting him in an institution, they kept him at the farm, and he worked and helped us work the milk cows and crops and everything else. Well, my dad tells the story that he was about 8 years old and he crawled into a corn crib. Back then, they put the corn on the cobs and let it dry, and they put it in a bin. Then they just pull it out and grind it and give it to the cows or hogs or whatever they're feeding. And he said that was one of his play areas. There was a little box, a door open. He'd crawl in there while he hollowed it out, kept hollowing it out. He didn't realize the danger. He got in there, hollowed it out, and it all collapsed on him. I mean, it's 20 feet tall, collapsed. He said, every time I took a breath, I could feel that push me down. And he said the lights were going out. And Charles came around the corner and grabbed him by the legs and pulled him out of there and saved him. And you think, well, that's not that big a deal. But then you start thinking, like, that changed the whole legacy of, like, my sister, myself. I have 2 sisters, my dad, my sons, my children. It affected 25 people probably.
That's crazy.
More than that, probably 30. But it's funny how the Lord's looking out for things even before things turn around, maybe.
Yeah, 100%.
But my grandmother got sick. They had moved to Holt Summit. They'd give up farming and went down there. She got cancer. She was 48 when she died. And my dad said, I was like 21. And I thought that was really old. He said, so I got older and I realized that really wasn't that old.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Yeah. And I had an aunt that was in the family, and I think I told you this story too, but she was one of those partiers. She was kind of like Paul. You know how Paul was one direction when he was not helping Christ, and he went the other direction? She was that way. She was a wild gal that got saved, filled with the Holy Spirit. She became the holy roller of the family. She kind of had a reputation, but when she found out my grandmother was sick, she came back and led her to the Lord and made sure she was ready for eternity. Well, my grandmother wrote a letter to her 2 sons, which one was my dad, and that kind of impacted him, and we started going to church. And I was pretty young, and it took a while for that to take, but I was probably 8 years old when I gave my heart to the Lord. I was 8 when we first went to church, and went to a little tiny church. Didn't have probably 10 or 15, maybe 20 people going to it, but I felt that call on my heart. And I think even before I really went to church, I always sensed there was something bigger than me. I don't know if it's just that void that's in your heart. Maybe I didn't feel a void then, but I just knew there was something bigger or in control of things. I kind of just always had that feeling. But gave my heart to the Lord when I was 8. Of course, I did that like 3 Sundays in a row because I was a sinful kid. You know how kids are. Then I had that conversation with like, there's some grace here. But yeah, that's when my journey started, and it went pretty good up till I was about probably 14. And at that point, I didn't have a youth group anymore. I kind of had a little youth group. And I remember being in 8th grade. I think I got tired of the battle. I didn't really want to be bad. I didn't have anybody to really support me or people my age that were into that. And my parents, we were like a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night type of thing. I took a lot of abuse from baseball coaches and things like that for being gone some days. But that never really bothered me. It just was what it was. Right. But I remember I was about 8th grade, and I just went, I'm tired of this fight. And I just let it go. And I just kind of walked away from things. And there's a lot of changes that are happening in a young man when he's 13, 14 years old. And I kind of stayed that way. Started riding motorcycles, ended up racing motorcycles later on when I was older. I was one of those kids, we were kind of poor when I was younger, and I decided that I didn't want to just talk about things. I wanted to do things. And I can't say we were poor. I mean, we always had food. We always had clothes. But, like, not a lot of anything. My dad always made just enough. God provided for him. And he believed that, and he's still that way. But I remember thinking, I don't want to talk about things, I want to do things. So when I was in high school, my dad and I took a ground school for flying airplanes, and I got that FAA test out of the way. And then I ended up working at an airport that last year as a senior, and I actually soloed like in 9 hours and started flying airplanes all that summer. So
Oh, wow.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
so I did that.
Not me. No, I don't like heights.
Oh, me. I want
don't-
to do it.
I don't like heights.
I like flying an airplane, though, but then
That's different.
It is, but then you start talking about the planes you're talking. I don't know. I'm getting cooped up again. I'm getting a little claustrophobic, so I don't know.
I actually,
I wanna
at
do
one
it.
point, I actually
Like
went
right now.
skydiving once, which
I
is
want
not
to
doing
so
that.
bad. That's literally on my
But I mean,
bucket list. I want to go to Hawaii and go
that.
skydiving. That's all I,
I
want to
didn't
do
do like
in my
a dual
life.
thing. I jumped out with a static line and it pulled it for me, and I popped out, and I found out how hard you hit the ground, and decided not to do that anymore.
No, we're not jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. I'm
And
not-
that's
I
I
love
remember that's
that.
what hit me, because I was flying by then, solo, and flying my own plane.
Yeah.
And when I jumped out of there, I thought, hold on here.
There's nothing
Jumping
wrong with
out
this
of it.
plane.
You know, this seems crazy.
It
But I
is.
thought, well, you've put yourself here, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Yeah.
That was enough.
Yeah.
I think I did it 2 times, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But yeah, I still don't like heights. I do not like heights. And I did construction work, and I had to do a lot of high work, but
Yeah.
I was usually tied off, so that didn't bother me so much. But yeah, my kids really get a big kick out of me. Like, I remember we walked across the Royal Gorge, and like they're just laughing and teasing me. I remember my son, he found out about my heights thing. He never really knew about it. We were in a lighthouse down in Florida. We went all the way up in that thing, and it had a rail. It was just high enough to trip you, so you'd fall over the edge
wow.
of it.
Yeah.
And he's kind of pushing me, and I'm like, dude,
Don't play with
if
me.
you push me again, I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my wife goes, no, he's serious.
Yeah.
He's really serious.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
It's going to hurt you.
Right.
But you know what the weird thing is? I love to bow hunt, and I climb the trees all the time, but I'm always tied off. I'm tied off from the time I go up to the time I go down. I didn't always do that, but I am these days. But
Yeah.
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 I don't like really high heights, but I've taken rappelling courses, and I've rappelled front ways, sideways, front ways, As long as I'm tied off, it doesn't bother me. But like get up in a big open area that's open, freaks me out. Just
Oh,
makes my
I'll
legs.
do it any
Like I can be
day.
watching television and see somebody run up to the edge of a
Yes.
building and look over the edge,
Same.
and my legs feel like jello,
Yeah.
and just like instantly.
Yeah. Same.
And I'm like, I know I'm not going to fall, and it seems unreasonable to me.
Right.
I've even tried to get over it by going and doing those things, but it doesn't really get better.
No.
Now, when I bow hunt, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And I'm usually 20 feet up in the air, but I'm always tied off. So I guess I have this feeling like I'm not going to get hurt.
Yeah. Let's go back to when you were 8, because the question I had is, you were baptized when you were 8. You said multiple times, but how do you think a kid, an 8-year-old kid, does that really stick? And do they grow into that at 8 years old? Do you think that's possible, or is that something you revisit? I ask because that's exactly what I did. I got baptized when I was younger because everybody
me
was
too.
doing it, right? And that was kind of, and I think I remember it and I understood the purpose. And then I got rebaptized again at FLF, 20 some years later. So my question to you, with your wisdom,
I think you grow into it. You have the amount of wisdom you have at that age. But I knew this. I knew I was a sinner. And I wanted him to save me. And I
So you
wanted
knew
to
that?
Yes, I knew that. And there was no doubt about that. And then I realized, wow, living a perfect life is hard.
talk about it all the time.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
real
you live
hard.
the rest of your life figuring that, basically. But I actually got baptized, I don't know, it was a year or two later probably, in a trailer court lake.
Oh, wow.
They pulled a Winnebago down
That's
there.
awesome.
Like 3 or 4 of us went down there and jumped in the water. And then I remember I had Little League football pictures that afternoon. I don't know why I remember that, but
Oh, wow.
so
That's
I went
so
and got baptized.
fun.
And actually, I got baptized again, but it was mostly because we went to Israel. And a pastor friend that we went with, I got baptized in Jordan River.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
Baptize
So I
me
had to-
again. Yeah. Baptize me again there anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember telling my wife, I said, man, I had a weird thing happen. And I was kind of jacking with her. I said, man, this voice spoke in my head and said, this is my sheet metal worker that I'm proud of. I said, I heard that voice when I came out of the water. She goes, really? I said, no, I just made it up. But,
Good story, though.
yeah. But yeah, actually, that was a very scenic place where we got in there. And it was kind of not a bluish green like algae, but it was like almost like a lime pit. Will have a bluish color to it. Beautiful. I
love it.
There were fish nibbling on my legs, and there were mallard ducks swimming in there. And I'm like, I never pictured that.
Oh, wow.
When Jesus got baptized,
Yeah.
about mallard ducks swimming around in there. But
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now that you say that, like, I can
Part of the
100% see it now.
Yeah, it's part of the family.
Yeah.
Part of the family. Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Was there a specific moment for you in your lifetime, and it doesn't have to be like necessarily towards the beginning of your walk with Jesus, but has there been a time in your life where you're like, oh yeah, like God is for sure there. God was protecting me in this moment. Like I feel him or hear him in some sort of aspect. Has there ever been that kind of moment for you?
I have wore out several guardian angels, I'm sure, in my life.
Me too.
I like that.
Oh, man.
I like that phrase. Yeah.
Honestly, I remember, this was not so much a guardian angel thing, but I remember the Holy Spirit speaking to me very clearly one day. I was getting into reading scripture, and I've read my Bible, but I wasn't really serious about it. But I was in my mid-20s, and I was really starting to kind of get into it. And I read about the Israelites, and I thought, man, those people so had it. All I had to do was follow God. I was like, they did not get it. Like, they get to the next thing. It's like, where's our water? Where's our food?
Yeah.
And they, and he'd kind of get irritated, and then the ground might open up and swallow some of them, and then he'd give them water or whatever,
Yeah.
And I was like, they did not get it. And I was out in my garage. I just read this section of the Bible, and I was kind of just mulling it over. And I'm out in the garage and working, because I love to build things and fab things. And I walk out there, and I'm working on something, and I went, they just did not get it. And I can remember clearly the Holy Spirit saying, how are you any different? And I was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I'm not any different than they are. I'm like, I just go from one crisis to the next. Oh, God, please help me on this next one,
Yeah.
And we're not any different.
We're not.
Yeah,
We're not any different. And it just was humbling. I mean, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But
I call us imperfect Christians.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I've learned over the last 5 or 10 years is that, we're supposed to wear this particular hat and act this particular way and speak this particular way and treat people a particular way and not get mad and have patience and kindness and, all the virtues that we're supposed to have.
I have a lot more of that than I used to.
Yeah.
I don't have near enough.
No. I don't think you ever do.
I'll explain that more in a little bit. But yeah, you talk about one particular incident. One that really sticks in my mind is, I told you that I like to bow hunt. And to me, just being up in a tree and hunting wasn't good enough. So a friend and I, we started videoing. And then we actually started working for a company, American Outdoorsman. We would video hunts. So we'd video each other or other people. And I remember, this goes back, but I had a time where I spent a bunch of time in the hospital in my 30s. And I was very, I should have died a couple times in there. We might get into that, but God healed me and brought me through it. God can take months to heal you, or he can go and do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
God is so good.
I've been the receptor of both of those.
Oh, wow.
But at this point, I'd been out of the hospital. I'd been in the hospital 4 months. I got out in June, and this was in October. And back in those days, we didn't have all the tree stands and stuff like we've got now, but we didn't even have screw-in steps. We had tree gaffs that we wore to climb trees. And I climbed a tree up and got in a tree stand. Nobody steals your stands that way either in the city. And you have tree gaffs, but climbed up there and had to stay up there. I was videoing, and it was so dark, and the deer finally left. We didn't want to spook them off. I dropped the camera down on a rope, and I started down off the tree. And the crucial part is you got to keep your legs, your butt out, and you always, any tree you ever want to climb with climbers, do it with one that you can bear hug. Always. Don't get on a big tree.
Oh, wow.
That's just a rule of thumb. And this was the right size. It was about this big.
Yeah.
So I started down that, and I was on what they call a shagbark hickory, and I had the pieces of hickory bark that kind of hang off of it. And one of my gaffs got stuck, and when I pulled it out, it pulled the other one out, and I went off the back of the tree. We always stuck the stands about 22, 23 feet high, and I was head high with it. So
so you were up.
So when I went off, I started rolling the windows up, and I thought, here's what thought that went through my mind. This is going to hurt. Because I've had some motorcycle crashes where you get the wind knocked out of you and you lay there and you just go, give me a second.
Yeah.
Get all the air back in my lungs. All this air, none of it's in your lungs.
Yeah.
You can't breathe.
Yeah, that's the worst. Yeah, you think it's over. Yeah.
I thought this is going to be terrible. And I remembered there was lots of limbs sticking up down there. I fell, and I had the most bizarre thing happen. It's like something caught me and laid me on the ground. Felt no pain at all. And a buddy of mine ran over. He goes, "Are you all right? You just fell out of that tree and landed on your back." I'm like, "I know." And I felt it, and I felt my back almost go, like it felt good when they caught me. And, I mean, how do you, it's hard to handle, because you go, what just happened?
Right.
What just happened?
That's crazy.
Because I know.
I don't even know what to say.
I've fallen out of things before and got hurt before, and thought I was going to die, but that really could have killed me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I think it was just God's hand protecting me and letting me be here for today,
100%.
or whatever I was supposed to be.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's good that you
one time
recognized it. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably just sitting there going, either I've lost all feeling or something's getting ready to start hurting here in a minute.
Well, I just thought something caught me and laid me on it. That's what it felt like.
That's what it felt like.
And then it was done. And I
That's
was
crazy. God can do anything. Literally anything is possible with God.
your human mind tries to explain it away. Because you
can't.
But you can't sometimes.
You can't. Sometimes you just can't. And that's one of those instances where you just can't.
I had that happen one other time. Well, let me go back and talk about my experience in the hospital. I felt like I was serving the Lord, doing things, but when I was about, it would have been 1992, I'd have been 33 years old, I started having these pains. It felt like somebody was shoving a spear through me. And I'd go to the doctor, and then I'd have them, then I wouldn't have them, then I'd have them, then I wouldn't have them. And what it was, I was passing gallstones and didn't know it. And it's much like a kidney stone. Have you ever had a kidney stone? I mean, you can be sitting here 1 minute and just go, and I mean, you'll break out in a sweat. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, somebody told you lay on your back and rock. It'll make you feel better. You do it because it just hurts so bad. And I had that off and on for probably 6-8 months. Then finally one Monday morning, like February 18th, I had one and it would not go away. And my wife took me to the hospital, and I went in there February 18th, and I didn't get out to the 1st of June. I got pancreatitis, which is basically what happened is a stone lodged in that common bile duct between your pancreas and your gallbladder.
Yeah.
And then the fluid starts back up. Then it'll issue into your body cavity, out of your, that's called your endocrine system that works to. So I went in there on a Monday, and I didn't realize it, but those fluids were issuing out into my body, and it was starting to shut my lungs down. It was starting to shut other organs down, but the lungs were the big thing. So they intubated me while I was conscious, because they didn't think they'd be able to revive me if they put me out, because my oxygen level just kept dropping, your O2 level.
That's terrible.
So, yeah, getting intubated while you're conscious is terrible. It's like 5 guys holding you down around a garden hose down your throat.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how bad it was. When they gave me the catheter, I thought, no big deal.
Yeah.
That wasn't near as traumatic.
Yeah.
Right.
It was painful, but it wasn't near as traumatic as the other. And basically that Friday night, they told my wife, they said, odds are he's not going to be alive in the morning. But I had a lot of people praying for me. And I made it that next day. I was alive. And they said, well, you're going to be on a ventilator for 2 or 3 weeks. I was on it for 5 days, and then they took me off of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I spent basically in ICU that whole time. They didn't have room in the ICU, so they made an ICU in the room that I was in. What I found out is after I got off the ventilator, they started feeding me food, and I was like, man, I just don't feel right. Like there's something. Well, what had happened is all those fluids that had been attacking my system started collecting in a pseudocyst, and they said, well, we need to cut and operate that, but we need to let it sit there for like 6 weeks before it gets big enough to where you can cut suture on the skin. It's thick enough. So for 6 weeks I laid in there, and I was just vomity sick. Like,
that's terrible.
if you've ever, you know how you feel when you're sick and you just throw up and you think, you just live for the moment. You go, I know this is going to be better.
I do. Yeah.
Man, 6 weeks of that. I
would be
remember telling my sons that, and they were like, how did you do that? You must be tough. And I'm like, yeah, there is no tough to it, man.
Yeah.
You just do
You
it.
just gotta do it, sadly.
I remember one day, I have a godly woman that I married, and she loves me, and she's good to me, and she doesn't have a mean bone in her body. She didn't know how to be mean. I always said any mean thing she ever learned was from me or my sons. Not, she's not that way. Yeah. She told me, I got like one whipping growing up, and I'm like, well, I made up for that.
Same. Yeah.
And what's that saying? Opposite attract.
Yeah.
We were talking about that this morning, how we were so opposite each other, but such a perfect fit. Well, in my younger day, I started cycling, riding bicycles, and I became like a kind of a long-distance cycler. And I would ride, several times I rode over 100 miles, but I rode from my parents' house, they hadn't moved back to the farm yet, down to Jeff City in a day. It was like 122 miles. And I did that in like 9 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. But I was a long distance person, and I'd learned it from my dad, and it's basically you don't quit. You're just not a quitter. I'd always preach that to my wife, preach that to my son. I tried to live that. And I remember she walked in the room one day when I was doing all that vomiting, and I was just sick. And she rolled in there, and she'd come in and sit every day with me. She'd go home at night, come in and sit with me every day. And it was before I had surgery or anything. And she came in one day, and I was like, and I always felt like I was pretty strong in my own spirit, but I think that's one of the reasons I went through it, because God just showed me how he could break me down.
Yeah.
He did. He broke me down.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, man, I'm just ready to roll and die here. I feel terrible. And I remember she said the one thing that probably I didn't expect her to say, but it just lit a fire in me. She goes, well, great. I married a quitter. And I'm like, oh, she just said that.
She just said that.
And I was like,
Yeah. No.
I said, I didn't say I was going to quit. I said I felt like quitting. That's what I told her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to clarify myself.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that. She knew exactly what I needed to hear. Like the Holy Spirit just
nudged her.
Yeah, nudged her. And she hammered me.
Yeah.
But I needed that at that point. So fast forward, this cyst gets like 8 pounds. Like, it starts doing damage to me that I still have today. I mean, I have a lot of things wrong with me, but I still seem to be able to do everything I want to do. But that cyst got like 8 pounds. And what they finally did when they did surgery, they cut me open. They went in there, they drained it, then they stitched it to my stomach, and my body basically absorbed that pseudocyst. But I had to lay in there another 6 or 7 weeks, I think, before that I got out. And I lost, like, I went from about 250 pounds to 190 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I looked like a stick man. My weight chart says I should weigh 190. I said I should never weigh 190.
Yeah, mine does too. I'm
Never.
like, no,
Right.
yeah.
Anyway, I got out of the hospital in June, 1st of June, and they told me, they said, well, it'll be a year before you go back to work. And I remember thinking, it's not going to be a year before I go back to work. And I did go back to work in August. I was working in the office, just detailing. I was a sheet metal worker. That's what I did for a living. And I was running work from the office and drawing and detailing. And so I was able to do that. I couldn't probably work in the field, but I could do that. And so I went back to work. But actually, 6 weeks after I got out of the hospital, I worked with a bunch of boys in an organization called Royal Rangers. It was like Boy Scouts, only at church. And we ministered to the boys and stuff.
That's awesome.
And they were going on a boundary water trip into Minnesota. And I made a dozen excuses why I couldn't go. It was basically I was broke. I mean, there's another thing how God, like, I didn't work this whole time, and I was getting like $100 a week when I'm used to making $800 or $900. And my wife worked for Sprint then, and her boss just said, "Don't come in. We got you covered." For 3 months, she didn't go to work, and they paid her.
Wow.
And that's how we got through, basically.
Wow.
I mean, I can say it was tight, but we made it through.
Oh, yeah.
God blessed us. But anyway, I went on this Boundary Waters trip. Like, I was just getting where I could walk about a mile. I was just eating solid food. I mean, it took a long time. Because I didn't tell you this story back up. When they found out that I had the cyst, they put me on a bag of IV that they'd feed me with. So I didn't eat for that 6 weeks. And trying to eat again, it was difficult.
I bet it was,
That is
weird.
I mean, the doctor would come in every week and goes, maybe you can go home next week when you start eating better. And I'd live for a week thinking I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. And week after week after week that happened. I finally, at one point, and I had another thing that I kind of got to run into, and that was they had me on steroids to help me to heal. Well, the doctor came in one day and said, "Do you want to see a priest or a pastor or something?" I said, "What for?" He said, "Well, we're going to take you off steroids and you're going to crash mentally." And I'm like, whatever. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I'm not that way. Ooh, it was bad.
Bad. No. Wow.
Bad. I mean, when you lay in a fetal position in a bed and cry and don't even know why you're doing it, I couldn't even relate to that. And I think the Lord took me through that to let me understand what depression was really like. When somebody tells me they're depressed or they're having a difficult time, I can so relate to that.
Yeah.
But I had to work through a lot of that stuff and get to where I was eating again, and it just took a while. But I ended up going on this trip with the boys up there, and I got to say, it stretched me. I told my wife, I said, it's either going to kill me or it's going to make me stronger.
Yeah.
And it made me stronger, but boy, I've got pictures of me. I'm so skinny up there. But I took my flotation device and just sat on it because I had no meat on my bone. I felt like I was sitting on 2 knuckles when I'm sitting in that boat, because I had no meat on it. And my legs were always my strongest thing. I was like, it wasn't good. I remember the first day we went through the lake. We did like 2 like 90-rod portages, and then stopped. And it was about 8 o'clock that night. I slept till like 2 o'clock the next day. I was so worn out.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And we paddled like to the horizon twice. And I'm like, But it was a good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of built me back up. And I crave adventure. I've always been that way. Probably
Me too.
that's why I flew planes. That's why I
Yeah.
skydived.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Race
Yeah.
motorcycles. It's like, I just craved adventure like that. I mean, that's probably why I like that bow hunt. I just crave that adventure. But anyway, so my life kind of gets better for 5 years. And what they ended up doing was draining the cyst. They took my gallbladder out. At one point, I remember after surgery, they were going to let me walk one day, and I was like, I'm so ready to walk. And they got me all ready. I had like 3 IMED pumps, like stuff pumping in me because I had a high infection this whole time. I had a high, like 102 fever for months. I had 3 of them over here. I had all these NG tubes in here. I had an NG tube down my throat, or JP tubes here. Just all kinds of stuff, oxygen. And just to get me to walk, it was terrible. And I remember I thought, I'm ready to walk. I'm ready to get out of this place. I got up, I walked to the door and walked back, and I fell back in the bed, and I thought, I'm a mess.
Oh, wow.
I'm going back to bed.
Yeah, and I remember I got an attitude adjustment about 2 days after that. They came in. I was mad. I really didn't want to walk. I was just tired of all the stuff and not feeling good. And I was sitting there, and the therapist says, well, I'm going to sit there and do some work if you don't want to do your walking. I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed, and I see this guy, and nobody's helping him. His leg's cut off. He's in crutches, and he's rolling his pole. He's rolling his pole, walking on crutches. I was like, nobody's even helping him. And I've got 3 people helping me. I'm like, okay, attitude adjustment, accepted. I said, okay, I do want to walk. I need to get up and walk. And it was just one of those things the Lord showed me that it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting out of the hospital. Well, 5 years later, we'd went on vacation. I'm doing well. Financially, things were getting better in our lives, and it was bad for a while. I mean, we never went broke or bankrupt or anything, but it was tight, and things start falling together again. And we come back from vacation. I'm at a company doing some work, and I told my wife, I said, I feel like I've got gallstones. I don't have a gallbladder anymore. So she meets me at the hospital. They give me a shot. The pain goes away, and for a month, I've got a fever like 102. If I'm not taking Advil, I've got a fever. And I'm working just like a couple hours. The company I work for is great. They know I take care of business. They say, hey, we know you're sick. You just do what you can. And it's crazy. I did construction work, and the particular job I was on, it was a middle school, elementary school, and they were changing every rooftop, for the heating and cooling.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There's like 28 of them. Nightmare job, because you've got to, we were taking the old ones off, making adapters for the new ones to set on, and they were multi-zone units, so everything there's a lot of measuring and stuff, a lot of potential for things not working right. And I'm right in the middle of this, and I'm just working an hour or 2 a day, and somehow it's all working out. Well, the Lord had his hand on it.
Yeah.
So finally, after 4 weeks, I had people praying for me, and God had just brought me through a lot of things, but I still had this fever, didn't feel good, and I just wanted to get this fixed. So I go in there on a Monday, they do a scan, and they go, oh, you got a big cyst on your pancreas. It's about half the size of an orange. And that's where your infection is, and that's what's caused you to have fever. So they said, come here Tuesday afternoon, pick up this. It was a big foam cup of contrasting fluid. We want you to drink this early Wednesday morning. Then we want you to be in here like at 6:30. We're going to go in and do a CAT scan. We're going to run a needle in there. We're going to drain it. If that doesn't work, we're going to take you in surgery and cut it open and get rid of it. So I'm like, I'm just ready to feel better, because I'm just like, if I wasn't taking Advil, I'd sweat the sheets wet.
Right.
That's how bad it was. And I'm thinking, man, I went through this. Did I not learn something, Lord? I'm more of a person like, am I being punished? I probably shouldn't always look at it that way, but I'm like,
right, you just,
I've been a knucklehead enough in my life.
That's just
I'm
a
like,
human instinct to think about it like that.
And I remember I went to that job site, and I thought, well, it's 1 o'clock. I'm just going to run. And this has changed my life. The one, you talk about the thing that God spoke to you, this is the thing that changed my life. So I go to the job site, I fax in some measurements for something I need made, and I'm going to the hospital. And I'm cutting across, going down Troost, and going to a downtown hospital I'd spent a lot of time at, Research Hospital. And I'm having this conversation with the Lord in my mind. I'm like, is there something I didn't learn here? Like, you nearly killed me the first time. And
Right.
Are we going to go through this again? Bankrupt me? And is there something I'm not doing right? Or, I'm kind of having that conversation.
Start asking yourself, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd like to tell you this happened, and it was like a whole second, or it was 10 seconds long, but it wasn't. I pulled up to a light, and it just went, and it was gone. But what I saw in that was, I saw somebody on a throne. I saw a big thing that got pointed, and it went through me, and it made me feel elated, crazy. I mean, you know how you sneeze, you have a euphoric feeling? It was that times 100. And I felt euphoric. And then But as soon as it happened, I mean, I knew. I thought, oh, that was God, but it happened so fast, and I've still got this high fever. And now I'm sitting here at the light, and the light hasn't turned, and it turns green as I drive on. I'm like, okay, what just happened here?
Right.
I'm thinking my fever has got so high, I'm starting to hallucinate now.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, but as I'm driving off, I'm thinking, I still have this euphoric feeling kind of resonating through me. I'm like, what's that? Mm-hmm. And I can't really wrap my hands around it or my head around it. And I'm a person, like, if I can't touch it or feel it, I'm not too much of a believer in it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not that way so much anymore. But anyway, so I just set it off the side. I don't tell my wife because I'm figuring she doesn't need to know I'm going crazy and losing my mind. Mm-hmm. She doesn't need that extra burden.
Right.
So I get the contrasting fluid, go home, don't say anything. I take the fluid. When I get up in the next morning, my wife goes, how do you feel this morning? I said, man, the sheets weren't sweaty this morning. Mm-hmm. Usually the Advil would run out somewhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I said, I feel great. I feel better than I felt in a month. So I went to the hospital. Doctor explains what he's going to do, lays me down, gives me another contrasting fluid in my arm. I'm laying there. I finally go to sleep, and he comes out and he goes, we got a problem. And I'm thinking, well, that's typical for me. Yeah, if there's going to be a problem.
That's another day.
Yeah. That's the way my life is.
Yeah.
And he goes, I said, well, what's the problem? He goes, well, that cyst is completely gone. And I said, oh. And my wife immediately goes, well, it's a miracle. And the nurse said that too. And I being my knucklehead I can be at times, I said, well, maybe you just misdiagnosed it. And he went off on me.
Oh.
He told me, he's like, I've been doing this 20 years in Chicago, and I've done it 10 years here. And I don't miss. He goes, there's not even a red spot. There's nothing there. He goes, how do you feel today? And I said, I feel great. He goes, I guess just go home. If you're feeling bad, call me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're rejoicing on the way home.
Yeah.
And then I told my wife what happened. I said, man, this happened to me yesterday. So I think she goes, well, God healed you yesterday. I'm like, I guess, but something else happened. Something weird happened. And I said, I can't put my finger on it. I said, I thought I was losing my mind, honestly, so I didn't say anything to you about it.
Yeah.
So, like a day or two later, I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I'm teaching in Romans. And I can still, Romans 8, 38 and 39. Do you know what that says? Talks about how can't separate us from his love, height or depth, and principalities, things from the past, things from the future. Nothing can separate from the love of Jesus. And I read that, and it just broke me. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I just began to weep, and I'm not a weep. I didn't used to be a weeper. I didn't used to be. I was very hard. Mm-hmm. Just from things growing up, I think I was just difficult, hard. I didn't cry. Yeah. And I just wept, and it wasn't sadness. It was like I knew how much he loved me. Mm-hmm. It's still hard for me to talk about. And I thought, wow. So I closed the Bible, and I'm like, got myself all together. I'm like, I'm going to read that again. I'm going to try that. I'm going to give this a test. I opened that up. I start reading. I just crushed me again.
Wow.
I was like, I did it again. And then I thought, I'm going to go to a different passage. And I read about his love, crushed me again. I was like, wow. And so I told my wife about it. I said, man, he really jacked me up. I said, every time I try to read about his love, it just tears me up. Mm-hmm. I said, I think I know what happened. I said, I think he let me have just a little dose. You can't have his full love in this body. I think it'd kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you knew how you're going to feel it. But I said, I'm going to tell you, I said, when that went through me, it was so addictive, I wanted to hang on to it. Yeah. And I said, I think he let me feel a little bit of his love. Now he's reminding me of it. And I said, it breaks me every time I think about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, I have to listen to a lot of people. When you realize how much God loves you, change your life. Yeah. It'll change how you treat your wife. It'll change how you do your job. It'll change how you love the Lord. It'll change how you drive your car. My wife says I probably still need more Jesus when I drive my car. Yeah. But, at times. But I'm still working towards perfection. That's a tough one. Yeah. But that's how I knew. I just never saw it coming, but I know this. He loves me. And I'm going to tell you something. And you're going to roll your eyes at this when I say this, but I'm his favorite. He loves me that much. I'm his favorite. But the truth is, you are too.
Yeah, everybody is.
But you're going to feel that. Yeah. And I told my wife, I said, when we go to heaven and we stand in his presence, I said, it's going to soak into you like the sun. Yeah. It's going to tear you up. Mm-hmm. I said, you're never going to feel so loved in your life. Yeah. I never felt that kind of love before. Mm-hmm. Man, I love my parents, but not like every kid growing up, I think you've had issues with your parents at times.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I just never felt that way before. And it just changed my life. Yeah. It just changed. I mean, I remember Brad talking the other day about He goes, you were this before Jesus and you were this after Jesus. And I was like, well, I can tell you what I was. I was selfish. I met a woman that didn't drag me, but helped me go down a path that I needed to go to get back to the Lord. I remember when I was dating her, I was not saved. I was not saved. And some things happened before we got married that might be a whole other subject, but I didn't feel I was worthy of his love. I didn't think I was worthy of it at all.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah. And he just showed me how much he loved me. And I guess my message to everybody is, he loves you. And there's always a chance. As long as there's breath in your lungs, there's a chance that you can live with him forever. And if he can fix me, he can fix anybody.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing about me. But I don't know, you've got some pretty good stories to...
He's just... In my life, one of the things I noticed is I was very selfish. Even in our marriage when we first got, I think a lot of men are that way, but I see what he's done in my life now. To me, I love to fabricate things or make things. I make knives. I made a bunch of boxes for my wife for a ministry that she's in. It blesses me to make things and give them to people. It's like therapeutic for me these days. And I was not that way when I was younger. Selfish.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've had a lot of things happen in my life, but the story of him showing me how much he loved me just changed my life. Yeah.
Changed your life. That
wild.
was the wake up moment.
Yeah, you could have just turned the podcast off right there after you got done with that story.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Ended on a little cliffhanger.
Yeah. That was it.
But I'll tell you something that kind of happened out of that. I was seeking the Lord and everything, but when something like that happens to you, it just makes you want to serve him more. And I remember, so that was in July when that happened, when that cyst got taken away and I had this experience. And you think, everybody thinks they've got God all figured out. Like, oh, he healed me. No, my pancreas never worked after that again. And from the first time, it had worked all the way for the 5 years. They told me when I was in the hospital the first time, you're going to be type 1 diabetic. You'll be messed up. Well, it didn't work that way. I was fine up to that point. After that happened, I noticed I started losing weight and it's just thirsty all the time. And I was on a hunting trip. I was on an elk bowing trip out in Colorado. This friend of mine said, how many times did you get up last night? I was like, 4 times.
Oh.
I'm like, peeing all the time because I can't. Warm tap water tastes good. I can't drink enough water. And I'm starting to lose weight, which is not normal for me. Gaining weight is normal for me. So
Same.
So a buddy of mine said, he said, you might be type 2 diabetic. You should go to the doctor when you get back. So I did. I think the first time I went, I was like 402 or something, which 80 to 100 is normal. So immediately I got put on insulin. So from that point on, I've been type 1 diabetic.
Yeah, my mom is too.
Yeah. So I have to go through all that. It's like walking a balance beam.
It is. It is a roller coaster, truly.
Yeah, you try to balance it, and sometimes I swear my pancreas still kicks in every once in a while and helps me out, and then it'll cause me to crash, and then I got to eat something sweet, and then and I pretty much eat what I want. I mean, careful with my carbs, but I can always take insulin.
Right.
And I tried to keep it in I've got on my meter, my GMI. It's like your A1C is like an average what your blood sugar is. It's pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been this way for 30 years.
It's hard. It's hard to navigate.
It is. It's
complex.
A balancing beam
It
thing.
really is.
And it just makes a lot of things difficult. But all that time in the hospital has messed me up in so many ways. Like that cyst laying on my lungs, it paralyzed the bottom thirds of my lungs, so I can't breathe well. It's hard for me to sing. It's not. I can still sing. I just have to really plan my breathing to hold a note long.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because my wife and I used to do worship, so we did sing a lot together. I'm very musical. I've always been that way. I started playing piano when I was like 8.
That's awesome.
I think. And then I started playing the guitar when I was in high school, and I started playing the bass, and I play banjo now. I started doing that 10 or 15 years ago. But my lungs not being right, I started noticing. At a certain point, for 30 years, I was a project manager in this sheet metal company, different sheet metal companies. And at a point, the blessing of being able to go to the apprenticeship school and teach mathematics and fabrication and welding and things, stuff I had done my whole life. It was easy to teach, and it was close to my house, and it was actually a cut and pay, but in a way it wasn't, because I wasn't spending all the gas money driving all over, and it was close to my house. It was like 7 minutes from my house in school. I taught there for 8 years before I retired. But I noticed, like, I'd give tests, I'd be sitting there and I'd be nodding off, and I'm like, I'm the guy that goes to bed at 9:30, gets up at 5, every day. My kids used to give me a hard time about going to bed early. It's way past your bedtime. Like, now they're doing the same thing.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So I ended up going to the doctor and found I had sleep apnea. So I have sleep with a CPAP now.
Yeah.
And I've had AFib with my heart. I just went through a procedure here to see if I needed stents, and I didn't need any stents. But I've got heart issues. I've got breathing issues. I've got,
And just laughs about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, and
But
it's
God is
crazy.
still good.
What's
They're all
crazy
seasons.
is I still cut like 5 or 6 cords of wood a year.
Mm-hmm.
I still cycle, but I've got an e-bike and I
Oh,
ride it
that's awesome.
around on the gravel now. I mean, I pedal the thing the whole way, but it helps
Yeah.
me get up the hills.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gives me motion in my back and my legs. I don't have
Right.
problems. When you retire, you got to stay busy, or you'll lock up and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can still do a multitude of things. I'm not what I used to be when I was younger. I can't ride 120 miles, but I mean, a few years back, I rode 60 miles with my son on the Katy Trail. So,
You've
God
got
is good through all seasons.
So, no, I love your story, and like I told her, I said, God loves you is probably where we could have stopped. That really meant a lot. So
Your story is crazy.
I think there'll be a lot of
appreciate
people. I think there'll be a lot of people that
there's nothing that you can
resonate to
do
that.
that he can't let
Right.
me pass.
Yeah.
Right. So
that. Truly.
that's amazing. I appreciate your time on here, and I appreciate your just transparency with talking about reading Romans 8:28 and how it really affected you, and your story that goes back even to when you were baptized when you were 8. So that's what this is about. It's about just relating to those people that's been there, that's done that. That maybe there's somebody that's got a heart problem, that's diabetic, and all those things too, or maybe 1 or 2 of those things, or not all 3 of them, or falling out of the tree. All the little things. So it's
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Your stories. That's why I probably didn't say much. I just sat here and just listened and took it in. But I do appreciate you coming on here. It really means a lot to me. And
I'm looking forward to
glad.
going to the cruise on you.
Yeah.
Learning a little about you.
It's going to be so
It'll
fun.
be good. It'll be good. You'll have a great time. We eat a lot, drink a lot of coffee, so just be ready for
Ooh,
that.
coffee.
I'm not a coffee guy. I love the smell of coffee.
We'll work on you.
There you go.
And my wife drinks it all the time, and I'm like, I'm not the
We'll
coffee
work
guy.
on you.
Well, then you can just enjoy the aroma.
Yeah, we can enjoy the aroma because we live off coffee on that cruise. So it'll be good. It'll be good. But no, Keith, I do appreciate you coming on here.
Yes,
And
thank
taking
you.
the time out of your day and telling the story. And I really, and if I get feedback from your story, I definitely let you know about it too.
Yeah.
But even if it just reaches that one,
That's all that matters.
just the one.
You remember that aunt that went and talked to my grandmother before she died? When I was in the hospital, she was getting pretty old. She was a lovely lady. I mean, man, she had a good heart. Just a loving heart. She'd just go around the country ministering to people. And when I was in the hospital, she prophesied over me and said that I would live to, she told my mom I would live, she had a scripture with her, my mom still has it. And she said, he will live to a long age, and he will stand in the congregation and tell the good things that God's done for him.
There you go.
I'm like, here I am.
Here you are.
Part of that prophecy.
Here you are. God loves us. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right.
You've been great.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, all the good things. We love you. Jesus loves you. God loves you. Robert the Realist out.